Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Gopika Jeevan Smaranam Govinda Govinda. Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. Shrikanto Matulo Yasya Dharani Sarvamangala. Jadagaha Shankaro Devaha Tam Vande Kunjaranam. Nandasunam Rajigam Bhavayantam Sada Hridim. Vandevam Gurudevatvam Krishnapreparasapratam. Kalage Sundarakaram Sadeka Puridarshanam. Ajnananashakam Devam Sadgurum Muralidharam. Kalikalochitam Darbam Navasankirtanatmakam. Virnetumavatir Tum Devigam Sadgurum Vaje. Jन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयात् इतरतः चार्तेषु अभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिवृतां यथा विधिवयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो वृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तवोकं सत्यं परं धीमहि गर्भप्रोजितकेतवोऽत्र परमो निर्वत्सराणां शतं वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनम् श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवृज्यते अत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषुभिस्तक्षणात् निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं सुखमुखादमुदद्रसंयुतं पिबद भागवतं रसमालयं भूरहो रसिकाः विवापुकाः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत् कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय देवकीनन्दनाय च नन्दगोपकुमाराय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः कृष्णाय वासुदेवाय हरये परमात्मने प्रणतक्लेशनाशाय गोविन्दाय नमो नमः दिशन्तु मे देवदया त्वदीयाः दया तरङ्गाणचराकटाक्षाः श्रोत्रेषु पुंसामृतं धरन्तीं सरस्वतीं संस्कृतकामधेनुं श्रीहरये नमः श्रीहरये नमः श्रीहरये नमः गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्द गोविन्द सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय. By the grace of Shivapati, Sriman Narayana, we are all fortunate to speak about Srimad Bhagavatam, as Bhagavan is full of Bhagavan's devotees, as it goes, Bhagavata Bhagavad Bhaktaha Prokta Iti Bhagavatam, which means it inculcates a sense of devotion in our minds as well as in our soul. Through mind, we think and remember how we could, how we would, how he blessed the devotees, and at each cost, each and every cost, how we bless the devotees as well as ourselves by putting us into situation. At the same time, how he yielded us and how he accepted us and how we take off from the situation. As in Vishnu Sahasranamam, it is said, Bhayakrit Bhayanashanaha, one who gives fear to us, which means whatever problems might come, the person might go to the wrong way, go to the wrong path. That by means of shortcut, we may win the contest. By means of shortcut, we may come out of this solution, which the person might think. It is natural tendency, which we may try a shortcut way, we may try an alternate way. So, for a person who tries in a wrong way, person who wanted to get into the wrong way, God would give them fear as an indication that if you choose this path, you will end up in danger compared what you are facing before. But that is Bayakrit. And another one is Bayanashanaha, which is you are in that fear. For 4 months you have suffered. For 4 months you have suffered, for more than a period you have suffered. Even though you have suffered, God makes you patient and God gives you vairagya, that is renunciation. Whatever problems may come, you may develop a face, you may put up a bold face, not only physically, mentally, you will put up a bold face. By putting up a bold face, then slowly faith would be engulfed and faith would be developed. As a process, when the faith gets developed, then Bhagavan slowly removes what are the fears that may bind you in this samsara, this materialistic world. He slowly removes it by removing the fear, and as well as at the same time he removes your problems. Bhayanashanaha. In that way, Bhagavan helps us. Generally, many object the idea of doing devotion as it is not the right time to do. Well, to do bhakti, you must complete all those works which God has given you. That is bhakti. By doing your work itself is bhakti. As it goes by saying that work is worship. But many people they don't know the actual meaning of that phrase. And they think that work is worship is just by doing the work, it is equal to worshipping God. As why the priests are going to temple, because it is his duty. It is his duty to pray God. It is duty to do archana, to do puja to God. That is his prime duty. So that can be worship. But compared to him, we are going to offices. I am going to college. If I am going to college, that is enough for me. Why should I go to such big temples to pray to God, as well as to pray to God, and as well as to pray to Him that please bless me, whatever good happens, whatever bad happens, please bless me. And why should we go for 100 rupees queue, and why should we pay for that and unnecessarily waste our time to pray to God? Instead, we can prepare for our exams. Instead, we can prepare for many mock interviews. That is enough for us, and that is worship. That is equal to worshipping God. No, and why should we unnecessarily waste our time in worshipping God, which we might think. But the real meaning is, as Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said to us, even though our minds cannot think of Srimad Narayana for 24 hours, for 5 minutes, minimum 10 minutes, minimum 5 minutes, we can think. As Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, at least spend 5 minutes. That is enough of thinking about Srimad Narayana. As by His grace, we are we are wealthy by His grace. We are surplus by His grace. We are contained with whatever we have. We have to thank every time. Whatever goods and whatever things He has given to us, we must thank. That is the best way. That is the best way to think on Srimad Narayana. As he said, God is given the first priority, then later your service. That's why we have to first pray to God. Whatever work we do, the same thing all the devotees did. They prayed to God sincerely that whatever work we do, oh God, please make our work very, very, very effective. As a result, they came out of these shackles. That's the reason whatever problems they have faced, they stood like a mountain. Apuryamana Vachana Pratishtam, as Bhagavan said in Gita, how their minds would be. Their minds would be like ocean, which is full of water, not like a river. As a river, its main duty is to collide, is to join the ocean. As a river might be very agitated. When you look at the ocean, it is calm and serene. Whatever problems happen, if a person praises the ocean, if a person praises the ocean, as in Puri, Jagannatha, the ocean is considered as a Tita. Even though we praise that ocean does not, the ocean is not even perturbed. And even though it is also the reason for tsunami, if we humiliate the ocean also, at the time it also causes destruction. Yeah, even though if we wail at it, even though if we humiliate it, the ocean does not takes whatever. Tatvat kama ne pravishanti sadve, sashanti mapnoti the kama kami. To develop a stable mind, to develop a stable mind which is required in work. In that way, bhakti helps us. So, to give us an example, there were many devotees. As many devotees, they said that at a tender age, if your mind is developed, if your mind as is inclined towards Sriman Narayana, if you get your mind inclined towards Sriman Narayana, then automatically the things will be easy and you develop an unshakable devotion and he will take care of your job. Tesham nityabhyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyam. He will take care of your job and he will do what is good for you. Which in many stories, we have many stories, it has happened. At the age of 5, Trinyana Samandar, a South Indian saint, he has at the age of 3, he was by Parvati's grace, by Lord Shiva's grace, he started doing devotion. As a result, he has taken everyone to Lord Shiva's abode Kailasha. At the same, after Trinyana Sambandha, and Adi Shankaracharya, at the age of 3, he praised Mahalakshmi, and as a result, for a person to complete this big task, that should take 32 years, he just completed just 32 years, 30,000 years. For him to complete the task, he has taken just 32 years to complete the task. And at last, Sant Jnaneshwar Maharaj. And Sant Jnaneshwar Maharaj, by his grace, the Varkari Yatra was taking place all by his grace. Right now in Maharashtra, he has showed us how the devotee must be, and how the devotee must be amidst all those problems. He has praised here from the age of 3. He has placed so much of prominence. He has been negotiated, he has been neglected by those Brahmins in his birthplace Alandi, as well as in his maternal as well as in his own hometown Python. Both those places was being neglected. But how did he show? By his devotion, how he has allured all the people from different classes and how he has broken the caste barriers. Why? Because at the tender age he started doing bhakti. As by seeing this, all those stories we have I just now mentioned in a crisp manner is from Kali Yuga. But before that, as said in Bhagavata, as said in Vishnu Purana, there was a devotee. His name was Dhruva. And how he has melted Bhagavan's heart and how he has impressed Bhagavan by his devotion, by his meek, by his simple devotion. And the story, it takes place in fourth skanda of Srimad Bhagavata, fourth canto of Srimad Bhagavata, and one of the Amsa of Vishnu Purana. As it starts, that there was a king named Uttanapada. There was a king named Uttanapada. He was the son of Swayambhuva Manu. As Bhagavatam starts, Manoshu Satarupayam, Trisyak Kanya Asadak Dire, Akutihi Devahutim Cha, Prasuti Vidvishrutaha. That time there was a king whose name was Swayambhuva Manu, who was a son who came from Brahma's mind. He was married to Shatarupa. He and Shatarupa both begot two sons and three daughters. Those three daughters named were Aguti, Devahuti, and Prasuti. And those two, they were married to respective Prajapatis who assisted Brahma in creation. Named as Aguti was married to Ruchi, and Devahuti was married to Kaddama, and Prasuti was married to Daksha, who was the main son of Brahma. And he assisted Brahma in creation. Those three daughters were married to those Prajapatis, and at last he had two sons named Priyavrata and Uttanapada. It is in this fourth canto is full of Uttanapada's story. From his descendants, it starts with fourth canto. In fourth canto, after Swayambhuva Manu has completed his rule, Uttanapada ascended the throne. He became the king. When he became the king, he married two wives. Two wives named as Suruchi, Suniti, and Suruchi. And his first wife named Suniti. The word Suniti means one who is vouched by one who is righteous and straightforward, as he married under his father's consent. And another wife is Suruchi. One who is vouched by his own desire, by his consent, he married her. He had two wives, and slowly he was infatuated by his second wife's beauty. When he was infatuated by second wife's beauty, when a person is infatuated by one object, he will forget his own desire, he will forget his own duties, as well as he will sway away, he will slowly negotiate from whatever duties which he has prescribed. Like how Ajamila, by looking at prostitute, by looking at the prostitute, by looking at the maid, how he has forgot all those practices which a Brahman must do, and how he has forgotten the young wife which he just now married. If he has even forgotten that he has married and he had a small child, at that stage he has forgotten everything. And by just looking at the prostitute, by being infatuated by the prostitute, he has forgotten that he was a Brahman himself. Like that, Uttanapada was infatuated towards his second wife. When he got infatuated, he neglected the wife, and he sent his wife to the forest. He sent his wife aside, and slowly years passed, years rolled down. His first wife has begot a son named Dhruva Maharaj, and his second wife has begot a son named Uttama. Both grow. Even though Dhruva was boarded to a school, when he boarded to the school, he was when he was boarded to a school, he was like his mother. He never swayed away from dharma, from truth, righteousness, and he was playing with his friends. During that interval time, we would play. There would be games period. Like that, Dhruva was playing with those children. When he was playing with those children, he saw at that time he saw all those child, they were wearing new dress, they were wearing new clothes, new ornaments. Looking at them, Dhruva was very surprised, and he asked them, "Where did you get these? Where did you get those ornaments? And who gave you these?" Even though he know the strata, which strata which they come from, they all answered gleefully that we got the dress from our king, as each and every year our king would give us donation. He would feed the poor people. At the same time, whatever things which we require, he would give us correctly at that particular month, at particular day. He would give us, which a surprised Dhruva, and he asked us, "Who's our king?" Which you say our king every time. Who's our king? And he asked with excited word. Those children said, "Our king is none other than Uttanpada Maharaj. And by his welfare, by his kindness, we are all good and we are all contented with whatever we have." And that has alarmed Dhruva. And he in turn approached his mother to meet the king, that whatever things we have, that is the duty of our son must do. That even though even though they lacked problem, even though they are from a different state, a son's duty is to uplift the parents and uplift the livelihood from the strata and bring them to a decent strata. That's the son must do, which Dhruva Swami did. He went to his mother. He went to his mother about the issue and he reported it to her, and she in turn accepted that that Maharaj would help us everyone. That Maharaj would give us ornaments and to those who are deprived of the basic needs, who are bereft of those basic needs. And by hearing this, she slowly said that the person which you said, the king which you told me, is none other than your father, and he lives in this palace which is 5 kilometers away from our house. There he is. If you want, if you are free, you can go and meet him. By his order, at the correct time, at that time, he asked his mother's permission. He asked his mother permission, then mother sent him to meet this own father, long lost father. At that time, he went to at the time with his friends. He accompanied. He went to that palace. When he went to that palace, he was stopped by those bodyguards. That since he was a stranger, since he was an unknown person, he's from a different place. He was stopped by the stranger, and for the period for the past 1 or 2 hours, they let him in. They let him in, and he went there. He went there, and at the same time, when he wanted to meet the king secretly, which was obliged, it was neglected by those guards again. And at that time, there was a old guard. This story this comes out of Vishnu Puran. Even though it is from the Bhagavata Purana, but some we would add from the Vishnu Purana, and with that we would merge with that. We didn't merge with the contents. As the old man came, as the old God came at the time, and the old God gave at time, and he scolded them, who gave him the right to stop this boy to enter into the palace. It is everyone's right to meet the king. You can't be so rude to that person, which he condemned their act, and at the same time, he sent Dhruva. He sent Dhruva to meet the king secretly, by keeping in mind that even though he is in the verge of retirement, but I am in the verge of retirement, as he also know the secret of he's a son of Uttanapad Maharaj. As say some of the features is resembled by Dhruva, by his look, by his physique, by his appearance, by his physique, and by his speech. So some of the characteristics is resembled by our king. So he might be his son, but due to certain circumstances, he neglected his own wife. But due to the circumstances now was against him, it may turn fruitful to him. Someday it may turn fruitful to him that which would make his second wife, which would make his second wife to banish from the kingdom. At the same time, would make his first wife to be the first queen of his own palace, of his own country. She would be promoted as a first queen. At that time, he may be his first child, and he might be his dearest child, and he may be his crowned prince. It may happen, the situation might happen favorable to him. So it is better we would permit him. And it is king's wish to accept him or not. And he has left the decision to king. So this has made him to fight against those guards and made Dhruva to meet the king secretly. And when Dhruva met the king secretly, he was along with his second wife, his consort Suruchi. And on her lap, second child was seated. By looking at that, Dhruva was very amazed that my father is now alone, and I am fortunate to sit on his lap. Since the second son was fortunate, sits on her mother's lap, on a stepmother's lap, and I am fortunate. Now the place is very free, and now the seat is very free. Now I am fortunate to sit under my father's lap. So Dhruva ran with joy, with excitement. He ran towards his father, and he hugged him. When he hugged him with lot of emotion, with lot of emotion that so much of years I have missed you. So much of years I didn't meet you, and at last I know that you are my father because of my mother. So, for the sake of mother, on behalf of my mother, I am hugging you with lot of affection, with utmost affection. Dhruva hugged his own father, and he was also very pleased. By looking at them, by looking at them, he was also pleased in return. The moment Dhruva sat on his lap, the Dhruva sat on his lap with affection, utmost affection. His mother couldn't tolerate that. Somehow, at this time, he sat on his father's lap. Somehow he'll obstruct the throne. He will usurp the throne from my own children, from my own child. He may go in the position if we give him this position, he may stoop down to any level. He may stoop up to any level to accept the tone from us. So by using this opportunity, Suruchi pushed him from the throne, and he fell down out of remorse as she was the reason. And she said that you are in the reason for my grudge. And what is the reason is because of your first mother. Even though she was being given with due respect, it is my plan. I had made the king, and I had made the king to banish her to the forest. It's all my plan. And better, since you decided to sit on your father's throne, you have to do one thing, which is said, tapasa radya purusham tasseva anugrahena me garbe tvam sadayatmanam yadichasi nipasanam tapasa radya purusham. So you have to do penance, severe penance, by beseeching Srimad Narayana. By thinking on Srimad Narayana, towards Narayana, you have to do penance. By doing penance, God would give you a darshan, and God would vouchsafe you. To Him, you must ask one boon. That one boon is like a Brahmastra. If you put that Brahmastra, then God would give you Vaishnavastra. And when God gives you Vaishnavastra, He will give you the boon that you will be fortunate to be born under my womb. And as a result, whatever pleasures which you long right now, you will experience that. Tapasaradhya Purusham Tasyevanu Grahename. By getting his blessings, Garbetvam Sadayatmanam Yadichasi Vipasanam. Whatever you decided that the king's throne, you will get it at the right moment. How cruel she was. And she wanted Dhruva to die. She wanted Dhruva to commit suicide. She has gone to an extent. That's why Kamat Krodha Abhijayate Krodhat Bhavati Sammoha, which Bhagavan said in Gita. At an intense anger is a poison to a person's heart. As it goes in anger management, that if a person gets angry for a long period, for a period of years, and that would be a poison in person's heart. Krodhat bhavati sammoha, and that would be a person that would make a person deluded, and that would make a person devoid of thinking, and whatever plans he will do, he will get emotional. At the same time, all those things which you have accumulated, everything would get vanished. Everything would be vanished with just one sweep. Tazevadu pravename garbetvam sadayatmanam yadichasi nivasanam. Out of grudge, she told those words, and it has hurted that boy, even though it was a tender age. The small boy, he had no, he didn't even accumulate any sin in his lifetime. He was clean internally and physically, even though he was both cleaned at both ways. But his hurt was very hard. Her rude words hurt him, so he couldn't even stand there. And he saw his father was helpless, was also helpless, that he couldn't help him. He couldn't confront his own wife at that time. Even though he was a king of this country, he must be in a position to give her a tight whack of whatever words she has spoken. It was not even correct. He was also like a son towards towards her. He was like a son to Suruchi too. But how could she speak against him, which the father might have condemned it? By seeing his father's helpless situation, he has swear that he won't be in this country, and within a moment he left this palace and he ran to his mother. He cried to her that he said the whole incident. He narrated the whole incident to her. His mother confronted. He wiped his tears and confronted him by saying that what your stepmother told was 100% correct by saying that Aradaya Zokshajapada Padmam Edichaso Atyasana Muttamo Yata Aradayat Adokshajapada Padmam, by offering flowers, by praying Sriman Narayana. By praising Sriman Narayana itself is the dharma which you have to adhere, which is we have to adhere. Not only you, everyone has to adhere. That's why Bhagavan has split the caste system into four parts, not to indulge fight and not to say that we are from a big caste and you are from an inferior caste, not to criticize and not to compare. Bhagavan has created four castes such a way that according to their own karma, karmic account, according to their own karmic account, they are privileged and they are given the duty, they are bound by a duty to worship him in whatever duties they do. As Bhagavan said in Gita, Chaturvarnyam Maya system, Gunakarma Vibhagasaha, Tasya Kartaram Abhima, Vidhi Kartaram Abhyayam. As Chaturvarnyam Maya system, there are four Arjuna, there are four Varnas, there are four subcastes in the caste system. As Chaturvarnyam Maya system, Gunakarma Vibhagasaha, according to the qualities which they have acquired, which they have prescribed, as in said in Shastras, Gunakarma Vibhagasaha, Tasya Kartaram Vigar. According to the qualities, if they act towards it, Tasya Kartaram Abhimam. According to my knowledge, Vidhi Kartaram Abhimam, and that would lead them to elevation. As Swakarmana Tamabhyacha Siddhim Vindari Manava, as Bhagavan said in the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita, by doing their karma, they would not only cleanse themselves, they would cleanse which caste, they will cleanse the caste which they were born and which they belong to. They, apart from cleansing themselves, they will cleanse the whole. They will cleanse their whole family as well as the whole caste, which the devotees would incarnate. As Bhagavan has divided into four varnas. He has divided four varnas. The duty is to please Sriman Narayana, which Suruchi, his mother, told him that your duty is to please Sriman Narayana. What she said was correct, is to do penance, but you must do penance such that God must accept me, and God must vouchsafe His grace towards me, and God must take me as a devotee. So God must guide me what is right and what is wrong by giving us a cleansed mind, by giving us a matured mind, which you have to pray. That position is correct. The position of reference is wrong. Only that point is wrong. What we have to do, we have to change the position of reference. By changing the position of reference, that other than worldly matters, we have to put the reference point on Sriman Narayana. If we put the reference point on Sriman Narayana, then things would be very, very, very easy, which she advised to Dhruva. And Dhruva immediately left by adhering to mother's advice. He went to the forest. At that time. Suddenly Narada came. As in Bhagavatam, everywhere this word comes. Yedurchaya comes. Even in Ramayana, when on Manthara's arrival to advise, to counsel Kaikai, at that time it said Tamdes Aruroha Prasadam Santasankasam Aruroha Yedurchaya. At that time Manthara came. She came there to counsel Kaikai that whatever the good happening, they are subjected to bad omens. And if Rama became the king of Ayodhya, the moment when he becomes the king of Ayodhya, at that time all those things which would happen to me, everything would vanish, and no good news will take place. And Kausalya, his mother Kausalya, would be the Rajamata, would be the she would acquire the first position, and you all would be intermediate position. You would serve her only, which she deluded Kaikai, and she became the responsible for Rama's exile to 14 years of forest. Like that, as Mantra's intervention, Ramayana has been a blessing, as Bhoja said in his own Kavya Chambu Ramayana. As why it has become a blessing, because of our arrival, we would finish Ramayana just one day. But Ramayana is completed in 9 days, as prescribed in Shastra. Why? Because of Mantra's arrival. Because of Mantra's arrival, Rama went to 14 years of exile, and he was in a position to slay Ravana. To slay Ravana, who was responsible for those who was responsible for the devatas who had been imprisoned. At the same time, the rishis who couldn't offer who couldn't give offerings to the devatas. As Bhagavan said, Devan Bhagavedan Deva Te Deva Bhavyantuha. We have to offer. You have to offer something, whatever we have by your own by your own wealth, by your own commodity. Whatever we have, we would offer it to devas. By offering to devas in the form of sacrifice. In the form of sacrifice, devas would give us in the form of rain. They would bless us in the form of rain. Like that, the mutual transaction has been disturbed by Ravana. In the best way to best way to start rejuvenate the mutual transaction. So that the main purpose, Bhagavan has to go for 14 years of exile. When he went to for 14 years of exile, then only it would be comfortable for him to reach Lanka, and at last he would slay Ravana and all those asuras who assisted him. In that way, Mantra proved blessing for us to for us to read Ramayana. And at the same time, Surpanaka. Surpanaka was also Tamdesam Rakshasi Kanchite Ajagama Yuduchaya. And she suddenly came to disturb the peace. At that time, 14 years of exile, Rama was at peace. In order to disturb the peace to be brought into different pieces, Surpanaka came. Surpanaka came and disturbed the serenity of all those people, and she paved way for Ravana to kidnap Sita, to abduct Sita. At that time in Ramayana, when you see Ramayana, each and every phrase, each and every chapters, there is a word called Yadhichaya repeated. Here, Yadhichaya also repeated. Why? Because to bless Dhruva. For the sake of blessing Dhruva, Narada suddenly came. Yadhichaya. He suddenly came with no invitation. He came and blessed Dhruva. And he asked Dhruva about the incident. And Dhruva narrated the whole incident to Narada. And Narada confronted him by saying that, and why should you spend your time at this tender age, and why you are taking the humiliations? Your age is to just throw those humiliations aside and hug your mother. That is your age only, no? And why you are doing such kind of things, and why you are taking it to your heart, and at this age, and why you are getting humiliated? You are just 5 years old, and why are you behaving like a 25 years old person who care about respect, self-esteem, etc. And you're saying that you'd go for a penance and you would do penance to Shivan Narayana, and it is not a very easy task. Like you're buying a samosa from a shop, it's not a very easy task. And many mendicants, they have left the kith and king, and they sacrifice everything as well as their own selfish needs. They sacrifice everything. They all went to Himalayas, high up in the Himalayas. They all went with just one cloth. They all went and they sacrificed. They did intense meditation, even though they did intense penance. At that time, devas won't tolerate those, as they were in the desire of usurping my throne. So he would send all those damsels. He would send all those people who were expert in singing. He would send all those people. He would send all those singers, dancers, etc. to disturb their penance. And at the same time, they get perturbed. They get perturbed by means of they get lured by the damsels who respective damsels' beauty when they came to hinder their penance. And at the same time, they would curse them, and they would curse them for their wrongdoings, and that would also disturb their penance. And they all got inflicted in the samsara, and you don't get inflicted. You're just 5 years old, and it is a terrible risk. It is a Herculean task for you to do tapas, for you to do penance. So the best way is you're told my problems. The best way is tell your problems, and and that's what you did. You told your problems, and I would confront your father, and make you sit on his lap. That is enough. That's easy problem. Which he said, and Dhruva firmly said, and he asked Dhruva to rethink about your decision. And Dhruva firmly said, Nudam Bhavan Bhagavato, Yom Gajat Parameshchinaha, Viturantrade Vinam, Hitatam Patago Bhavat. Certainly, you are son of Brahma. And a close devotee of Sriman Narayana himself has you 24/7 for the past 365 days. You are chanting his name. That do by clinging with the veena. By clinging with the veena, you're chanting his nama. By chanting your nama, you know what is good and what is bad. So it's my kind request. So please show me what is good for myself as well as for this entire cosmic universe. By hearing this, Narada was very pleased and he blessed him that you are my perfect child and you are my perfect devotee. And what a teacher, how a teacher would be pleased. A teacher would be pleased only when if a student asks the question which is pertaining to the subject, which is 100% pertaining to the situation. As Dhruva asked, the same thing how Bhagavata came, how this Bhagavata Purana came, all by Parishit's very good question. As Bhagavan inside him has made him to ask such question that Variya Neshade Prashnaha Krito Lokahitam Mruta Atmavit Sampada Pupsam Shodavyadishu Yetpada. That has also made Shuka to praise him that you have asked a very good question. You have asked a remarkable question. Variya Neshade Prashna Kritau Lokahitam Nripa. And that has made you to think about the future generation, about the welfare of the future generation. As well, Atmavit Samvada Pumsam. It is also beneficial to me as well as to you, Pumsam, as well as to the other all the human beings who have been worldwide in the samsara. Shota Vyadishu Etparaha. To samsara, to question who is the perfect person to hear this Bhagavata Purana, which by his question, Sukha told the whole Bhagavata. The same time, he by Dhruva's question, the same like that, the Dhruva's question has made Narada to give him a mantra, to give him the mantra to attain Sriman Narayana. As he said, as he ordered him, as he requested him to meditate in Madhuban, which is the present day Vrindavan, Uttar Pradesh. In that place, Bhagavan was born as Lord Krishna. He was born as Lord Krishna. He did all the leelas. He played in Vrindavan, and at the same time, he also slayed all those asuras who have caused havoc in Vrindavan, and he blessed the gopi, and he gave himself to her, to them because of their unshakable devotion. As he said, Punyam Magavadam Yatra, Sanidyam Nityada Hare. Two penance. Meditate on Sriman Narayana in Madhuvan, which is full of, in that place, Bhagavan was omnipresent, and at the later stage, he would do leelas in that place. By giving him an order, Dhruvan silently went to Madhuvan. When he went to Madhuvan, and at last he gave him Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, that 12-letter mantra. And the 12-letter mantra, and as well as his form in his abode Vaikunta. By giving his form, by giving his form, Dhruva remembered it all the time by contemplating on the divine form and by chanting Chai name, that 12-letter mantra with utmost devotion and steadfastness, amidst all those hurdles which was caused by devatas, which was caused by all those damsels, he was unperturbed. He was unperturbed, he was firm with his resolution. At that time, all those devatas couldn't withstand the heat caused during Dhruva's penance. They all went to their own respective place and they all prayed to Shivan Narayana. They all prayed to Shivan Narayana to bless them. Swami, you are the right person to answer his prayers. So please bless him. We couldn't withstand that heat. That's the reason we came to Bhuloka, and Bhuloka is more torrid compared to our own place. So please reduce that heat and please reduce that the devotees' heat and please bless him with this right moment. And by hearing those pleas, Bhagavan immediately went with his form. And at the time he slowly requested Dhruva to open his eyes. By even though by hearing his request, Dhruva was he was unperturbed, he was silent, he was contemplating on Bhagavan's form in his own heart. As he had a doubt that that form Narada gave him. But Narada gave him that form. But he had a doubt that is whatever the voice I heard, is it Bhagavan or not? Is it either Bhagavan or someone else who came to cheat me in the form of Bhagavan? Is it that person? So he looked internally as well externally that is it Bhagavan or not, and at last to question his devotion, to answer his devotion, sorry, not to answer his devotion. God spoke, Shivan Narayana spoke in his heart that I am that form exhibited outside. So Bhagavan carefully dressed what Narada has said to Dhruva, what Narada has given a close picture to Dhruva. He carefully dressed. When he carefully dressed, Bhagavan appeared to him, and Dhruva was very, very, very pleased. He was very, very pleased, and he was in a position to hug Sriman Narayana, and he hugged him. When he hugged him, Bhagavan happily vouchsafed his blessed his devotion, and he asked him, "What boon do you want, my boy?" He asked him with utmost compassion, and Dhruva told the whole incident. He was about to narrate that he was about to tell he was about to narrate that he was thrown by his stepmother first, as he was desired, as he longed to sit under his father's lap. He was thrown. By hearing this, Bhagavan took a conch. When he took his conch and he rubbed on his cheek, from his cheek, he started praising Sriman Narayana, and that we would see is Dhruva Stuti. In his first sloka, he said, Yontaf pravishya mama vacha imam prasuttam sanjeeva yakti akila shakti dharaswadamnam anyancha hasta sarana shramanattvagadi pranan namo bhagavate purushagatubyam. It's a skeleton of Srimad Bhagavata, the sloka itself. Here he mentioned, he spoke the greatness of Sriman Narayana, by how by his grace we would see, and how by his grace we would hear things. The same thing he said. The same thing Kulashekhara Alvar has said in Mukundamala. Tikve kirtaye keshavam muraripum cheto bhajashridaram panidvanda samarpaya chudakatam shotadvagatvam shuno krishnam lokayalochayadvaya hare gacchangirikmarayam jigragrana mukundapada tulasi murdan namadhokshajam. Here he clearly mentioned that whatever activities we do, we must relate with Sriman Narayana, and that is bhakti. As Bhagavatam said, Savai Pumsam Parodharmo Yatho Bhakti Rajokshade. The same thing Dhruva Swami said, Yo Antaf Pravishya. And by his presence, the once when he dwelled in our heart, Mamavacha Ivam Prasupta, he has made me speak. He has made me speak about your greatness, which I fumbled, which I trembled. By looking at your form, I was taken aback. I was taken aback with utmost compassion. If a person is utmost compassion, utmost affection, by looking at a person for so many years of for so much of years, he would be perplexed, and he would be he would be floored. Like that, Dhruva's state was like that. Yonta Pravishya, Mamavacha Imam Prasutta, he had made me speak. And Sanjeeva Yakti, Akila Shakti Dharaswadamna, since he has given me the power to speak, he is also a driving power in all the living beings' heart, and he has made them to speak, and he has made them to whatever their habit, whatever their respective habits are. Sakila Dakti, Akila Shakti Dharaswadamna, and then Anyam cha Hasta Sarana Samatva Gadim, and he has made my hands to bow at your form, and he has yet made my legs to stand straight and stand straight and do namaskara to him. Anyam cha Hasta Sarana Shravanatva Gadim, to offer flowers to your feet. That soul, and that Bhagavan is Pranan Namo. That Bhagavan is our breath. That Bhagavan is our swasa. That Bhagavan is our breath. Pranan Namo Bhagavate. That Bhagavan is our breath, and he has made us to do whatever work is prescribed in the Shastra. Pranan Namo Bhagavate Purushaya Tubhyam. In this first sloka. And next he said, Ekastvameva Bhagavan Nidatma Satya Maya Yog Punamaya Mahatakyasesho Shishtva Dushanvila Purushat Tadasa Guneshu Naneva Darsu Vibhavasuvat Vibhasi Ekastvameva Bhagavan Atma Sudhya. By your own power, you have created Maya, and with the help of Maya, you delude the people, and you have made people who are doing spiritual practices rigorously, and they think that whatever practices we do is by our own power. To them, you would send Maya, who is your commander in chief, and you send your Maya, and the Maya in turn would delude them, and by giving them benefits and by giving them whatever they have decide internally. Ekastoye modam dinam atma shaktiya maya yogu gunaya mahadatyesho. By the maya shakti, by that maya he created three gunas, as Tyagaraja said, Leela Srishti Jagatrayamane in his Gitana. Leela Srishti Jagatrayamane. By his Leela, by his Maya, he has created the three Shaktis, the three Gunas. The three Gunas is named as Sattva. One Guna Sattva. The next is Rajas. And the third is Tamas. He had created these three Gunas. By these three Gunas, the world is acting, and the world is acting, and along with the false ego, and that false ego has made us to concentrate on our work rather than on Sriman Narayana. And sometimes when our problems arose, at the time our mind would get cleansed, as we are facing the situation. We are not doing the situation. Since we are facing the situation, our mind is being whiplashed by our previous karma. By our previous karma, we are being whiplashed, and that makes our mind to develop an undivided devotion towards Sriman Narayana. So Bhagavan gives us problems. So Maya Guru Mahadakya Seshu. He gives us problems, a number of problems, so that to reduce our ego. By reducing our ego, Sishtva Nuvishya Purusha Tadasa Guneshu. By even though he created Maya, with the help of Maya, he diversified into many forms. As a human being, as 10 incarnations of himself too. He appeared many. Even though he appeared many, Naneva Darushi Vibhasi. It appears as if the fire appears in diverse in different lots of wood. Like that, your form appears into different forms. Even by praising Bhagavan's glories, and he asked Bhakti Muhu Pravatam Toime Prasango Bhuyad Anantam Hatam Abalashayanam, and at last he prays, Oh God, please give me devotion. By thy devotion, it has made me forget that I am a son of Uttanapada, and and Suruchi was my stepmother, and Suniti is my mother, and all those belongings have been left. Why? Because by thinking about you. Bhuyat Anantamamla Amalashayana, it has made me cleansed. Enanjaso Vesana Urva Bhavat Bhavabdi Tveshe Bhavat Gunagata Urupanamataha, and only one wish I desire. What is my wishes? I want to please give me Vaikunta, and please give me Vaikunta, and I don't want in this be the samsara, which is full of sukha and dukkha, and which is full of comforts as well as discomforts. All those dualities I have to face. So the best way is to please give me Vaikunta. I want to be in your presence, and I want to see your presence. Which Dhruva asked with folded hands. Humbly he asked him. Bhagavan told him, it is a prime duty to rule the kingdom. So you have to rule the kingdom for 3000 years. After 3000 years, you will attain that stage of permanency. You will attain the stage of eternality. That is, as a Dhruva star you will be. As a Dhruva star you will be, as Bhagavad has said in Vedas, Namo Namah Shisukumara Namaha. As by you will attain the stage of Dhruva star, by attaining the stage of Dhruva star along with your mother and all those rishis. Once that Praya got over, once the mass destruction got over, you along with all those rishis would pray to me, and the Vaikunta doors will get open, and you would attain me permanently, and you would be with me permanently. Which Bhagavan blessed him, as adhering to Bhagavan's advice. Dhruva ruled the kingdom for 3000 years. 3000 years. After his period got over, he went to the forest and performed severe penance along with his wife. And before his departure, his mother passed away. His mother passed away. At that time, he was unperturbed. And after his tenure got over, his life tenure got over, he was given Vaikunta. He was deeply respected by Yama. As Yama requested him, Mrityoho Murti Padam Tattva. As Bhagavatam, as Yama told him to keep his foot on his head and go to Vaikunta, which Yama requested him. As Dhruva slowly was not a bit convinced, as in Alvar said in his Pasuram, நாவல் டு உயிர் தருகின்றோம் நமந்தவர் தலையில் மீதே. By offering, by your unshakable favor, devotion towards your divine feet, we have crossed Ramaloka, as in Vedam said, Charanam Pavitram Vitatam Puranam, Yena Bhutastara Diduskritani, Tena Pavitrena Shuddhena Bhuta, Ati Papma Namaratim Tarema, that would slowly vanish your sins, which you did internally and externally. When does it vanish? By offering your prayers, by offering undivided and unexpected, and by offering wishless devotion to Sriman Narayana, and that would help you to travel, that would help you to cross this samsara, that will help you to cross this Yamaloka, and that has made Dhruva to cross Yamaloka, and he crossed Yamaloka by keeping one head on Yama's feet, and he boarded on the flight given by Bhagavan. When he boarded on the flight given by Bhagavan, he attained the stage of Dhruva star. That in Sanskrit is called as Dhruva Nakshatram. When he attended the Dhruva Nakshatra, once the Pralaya got over, he along with all those saints, rishis, and all those, and along with his mother, he attained Vaikunta. With that, by God's grace, the benefit of listening to Dhruva Charitram or Dhruva Stuti is one would develop the unshakable devotion to Sriman Narayana, and as a result, whatever they have desired, God would satisfy their desires, and God would give them liberation. With that, at last I thank Radha Madhav Culturals for giving me opportunity to deliver a discourse on Kartika Purnima, on the occasion of Kartika Purnima, and I thank audience for listening to this pravachanam. It is done all by Guru's grace. So Gurunath Maharaj ki jai. Hare Ram 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna.